Let me cut my mic on. Mic check one. I just saw this on TikTok, so I just want to talk about it. So I just thought it was super interesting. Um, you know how we do it. If you got any technology questions, just drop them into the chat. If you got any cybersecurity questions, just drop them in the chat, and we about to really get going. And I'm sure we'll read the article a few times as people drop in. Once again, I just saw it and just wanted to talk about it. So, Bank of America project manager fired, young guy right there, super smart, super young. It was weird his perspective versus my perspective. So, definitely gonna touch on that on the article. Read it, and we'll play the TikTok video. Once again, I just saw it and it kind of just reached out to me. So here he is. So we're gonna read the article and go over it a few times. So there he is. He said, I'm so hurt right now. Bank of America employee devastated after being laid off with no warning, says employees are easily disposable. I see this all the time. I just didn't think it would happen to me, right? So that's what usually everybody says, right? It's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to get fired. We're going into a recession, maybe a depression, right? So what is your personal plan if you got fired, right? And I think young people, like he said, is they kind of sometimes, get tricked into company loyalty, company, I would say, fantasies that, right, that it's a more of a bottom line and not a personality contest. So let's keep reading. An IT worker, TikTok, Antrell, ignited a litany of comments from folks who were suddenly laid off by their employers after sharing he was fired with no warning. So I think that's what gets a lot of people. You get fired with no warning. I think you're really young in my career. I've seen about 50 people get fired, 50 or 60 people get fired on a Friday, and escorted out. So I think that kind of just changed physically my whole perspective of employee employee relationship. We're gonna listen to the viral video. I'm sure we're gonna go over it a couple times. In his viral clip, Antron says that he wasn't given a solid reasoning to why he was let go from his job in the first place, but suspects the fact that he was a new hire and has something to do with it, right? We always talk about last fired, first hired, right? So we talk about that. That's a consistent theme. Guys, I'm so hurt right now. I see this happen all the time. I just didn't think it would happen to me, but I just got laid off. He starts in the clip. I am unemployed and I'm so hurt. I get it. I get it. A lot of people are being affected right now. But like, I didn't think this will happen to me. I actually really like this job. I only been there like 5 months. I actually really like this job. I actually really happy there. And now I'm unemployed. I don't know how I feel and I don't know how to respond. I'm really sad, right? Which is common when you first get fired, right? This is, the TikToker who wanted to know more content about the circumstance surrounding Antrell's layoff asked him what happened, and he obliged with the third clip. We're great playing them all right. I'm gonna read the article, and I'm gonna go back to the top and play the TikTok responses. So, for context, I was an IT project manager at Bank of America, right? We'd say IT has the smallest unemployment rate, right? IT people never get fired. That is a mistake, right? So, young guy right here. Once again, we're gonna play the video shortly. I'm sure people follow in. He was in IT. He didn't think he was gonna get fired. To make matters worse, he wasn't really given much understanding. Being laid off, he did address concerns in the comment section, knowing that his job performance, his TikTok account played a part in him losing his job. He always do ads is don't let TikTok get your ass fired. But for him, that wasn't an issue. Um, he believed that his age played a critical factor as young employees in the IT industries are easily disposable because everyone else is much, much older than you and they don't take you seriously before from the beginning anyway. Did he get fired, but he messed up something? He didn't really say. I just think we're gonna dig into it in the article, JM. I just think people are cutting back head count because Black Heisman been talking about it, textual chatter. The IT industry, especially those big companies, they're missing profit numbers and expenses are getting. So I think they're chopping. So I think he just got caught up in the chopping block, right? And I think he was mistaken that the company has some loyalty to him. So and we're gonna check out the TikTok videos here shortly, JM. Antrell continues that he migrated from another company around 4 months prior to go work at Bank of America. When around a layoff occurred, since he was the newest hire, he was one of the first to go up on a chopping block. He then went on to say that although he was very, very sad about it at first, he said that he ended up feeling a lot better about it. He chalked it up to something that was supposed to happen as part of his journey and thanked everyone for their sympathetic words on his first TikTok, right? So now he's trying to make himself feel good, right? Um, Viewers who saw his original post offers a slew of response. Some shared their own layoff stories, while others encouraged him to not get too down about it, saying other opportunities will be available in his career. He's just starting out, so hopefully he doesn't have a lot of debt and a lot of kids and a lot of bills. Right? A person isn't defined by their job. Don't forget that. Have a self day, babe. You are not your job. Apply for unemployment. Spend this time focusing on the next steps. Thank you for showing us that. Thank you for showing us so aesthetic part of tech. This is why I follow you because you're transparent. This is only temporary. Another users empathize with Antrell, sharing themselves that they were laid off twice in the past. After the second time, it purged any loyalty I ever had. Right, once you see layoffs, or you purge loyalties. Shrim predicted at the end of 2022 there would be a death of workers, an IT worker shortage, and if their analysis proved true through the year, Antrell should presumably find potential unemployment, depending on the metrics of the market looking out. So let's go listen to his video real quick. Once again, I played it. Like I said, it kind of hit me. And two is tech is going through a layoff. We know tech makes the bag, but sometimes, they get laid off too. It's an industry like anything else. And once again, you can get laid off too in that industry. I always used to tell my man B2B, you got to get off your feelings, man. You're a resource. Don't, get overly sick about it, right? Aren't they supposed to give no, JL? A lot of times they don't want to give you a note, especially in IT. I used to work in security in a mainframe years ago, and even now is they'll fire you. They might give you 2 weeks, but a lot of times they're gonna escort you out because they don't want you could delete stuff, especially if you're a system admin. You could delete the database. You can start I wouldn't say stealing stuff, borrowing records from the database a lot of times, JM. So usually you get escorted out, but a lot of times they do pay you your 2 weeks up front, even though they fire you that day. Right. So let's see before we play this. Is the software engineer friend shrinking too? That's the one I'm trying to get into. I wouldn't say it's shrinking. I think it's changing. Now I'm gonna do a video on that. Because you got to think Meta was trying to hire 10,000 programmers for for the metaverse, JM. So I think like anything is, I depend on what type of coding you do, what domain specific knowledge you have. Two, are you in the old programming or are you doing the new stuff? Shout out to Women in Linux. Are you doing Rust, Scala, some of the newer programs? Drop by to like the vid. We'll catch the replay. I appreciate that, Helmet. Check the replay. About to play my man real quick. He was hurt. It made me hurt a little bit. Let's see what he's talking
Guys,
about.
so hurt right now. I see this happen all the time. I just didn't think it would happen to me, but I got laid off and I'm unemployed. Hurt. I get it. I get it. A lot of people being affected right now. Like, I didn't happen to me, and I liked this job. I've only been there for maybe like 5 months, and I actually really liked this job. And I was actually really happy there, and now I'm unemployed. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to respond, but I'm really sad.
But like my man said, he was hurt. I think, anytime you fire, especially when you're young, I think, that's kind of what made me do this video real quick. I was like, man, because I've been there, but too later on, I think it clicked on into what it is. No, that's a good deal right there. JavaScript's hot, full stack. I will make sure do the full stack. Be comfortable, front end, middle, make sure your database, you understand the database connections, that being SQL or no SQL. Little infrastructure in there too, JM, especially from a DevOps perspective. What does that look like when you deploy code and spin up servers? How do you do security in the full stack? Adding on technical skills was that. So let's see what Helmet checking out. A kid who wanted to be a doctor to learn cloud. He wasn't understanding me. No, I feel you, man. I feel you. I feel you. Until you would think a doctor, along with, because there's a lot of research in medicine, but it's a lot of work, JM. So I think he might have been confused with that. So let's listen to that one more time from my man.
I'm so hurt right now. I see this happen all the time. I just didn't think it would happen to me, but I just got laid off and I'm unemployed. And I'm so hurt. I get it. I get it. A lot of people are being affected right now, but like, I didn't think this would happen to me. And I actually really liked this job. I've only been there for maybe like 5 months, and I actually really liked this job. And I was actually really happy there. And now I'm unemployed. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to respond. But I'm really sad.
That's who I like how he's transparent. I guess for me, I just think of me. He's young. He's got new skills. Hopefully, doesn't have a lot of bills. I think me as a 55-year-old guy, I'm gonna be the first one hired. At 55-year-olds sometimes have a hard time finding their next job. I think where he's at in his career, he's up and coming. Like Hellman said, hopefully working on his skills, and he's learning new stuff, and he's once again getting those skills so he can make more money, right? So that's what I think of, thinking of somebody's doing. He's thinking young guys get fired. I'm thinking old guys get fired, right? So that perspective was one reason I did this video, right? Because I was like, okay, his perspective as a young guy, he's gone. I'm thinking as an old guy who makes a lot of money, I'm gonna be the first one gone. As long as the folks don't start crying. Facts, Hellman. Facts, Hellman. Job is not your family now. But a lot of times people get confused like that, Helmet. They treat it like a family. I'm the opposite. I don't go to any Christmas functions or Thanksgiving functions. I don't do any of that, man. So if you need to fire me, I'm not gonna be mad. If somebody give me $20,000, I'm gonna go get a new job. so let's check on this one. He's a little more chipper here, so I think he's figured it out.
Next, I was project manager at Bank of America. Friday, I was laid off with no warning. Sunday, layoff with not really much understanding being laid off. It had nothing to do with performance, and it had nothing to do with my TikTok, to answer that question first. So working in this industry and being so young, you're very, very disposable. You're easily disposable because everyone else is much, much older than you and don't take you seriously from the beginning anyway. I've been there for about 4 months, and I had left my job 4 months ago at another company to work at Bank of America. So when it came to any type of layoffs, they looked at me first because, I was so young, they didn't take me seriously anyway, and so I got chopped. And I was very, very sad about it at first, as you could tell in that last video, but I feel a lot better about it now, and I'm actually kind of happy about it. I think that this was something that's supposed to happen. It's just a part of my journey. I have more to the story, but I really, really want to say thank you all for all the well wishes, and I really, really appreciate it.
Shout out to him. Like I said, I think he's figuring it out, looking at it differently, looking at it how he's supposed to look at it from my view. But once again, I threw my 2 cents in because as a young guy, he thinks he's disposable. And as an old guy, I'm disposable, right? So depending where you at in that arc, right? He's at the beginning and I'm at the end of the arc, right? So I thought that was super interesting. And once again, we're going to dig in more into the article. I just want to put juxtapose his view versus my view, right? Because, like I said, he's just now entering the funnel, right? He's young. It would be interesting to see if he got his PMP or PMI certifications, right? That make it more valuable. So it makes you harder to fire. And if you fire and you got those certifications, right, that makes you more valuable. So again, we're gonna dig around the article. I heard the first one. I told B2B one time, you got to get out your. You are a resource, but if the profits are up, you're the lever, right? You are money, right? You're a resource. You're on a team. You're in a division. Yourself. Where are you at? Are you at the top? Where if you're at the bottom, you're going to source, right? They're going to keep you on. There's an intersection. You can still be too expensive, right? So you got to make sure you balance those out. So let's see what my man JM's talking about. I was doing a solution. I have that cert for the associate. Shares they're encoding an evolved cloud architect position. Said no. There's not a lot, but even in an architect position, so you come on, you probably would give it to the sysops, but I consider YAML of the cloud, right, which helps you spin up stuff and get cloud formation. Two AZs, two regions, right? It's YAML code, but right. But I think the architect at a high level should understand cloud formation, right? Even though I think a DevOps is going to do a lot of the work, I think at a high level you need to understand. And two, as the architect, there's a lot of services in AWS that you have to, I wouldn't say master, you have to have an understanding of it, right? You got to have a little understanding of DevOps. You got to have a little understanding of DR and COOP, of the architecture, right? From who was talking about the full stack? JM, were you talking about the full stack? Yeah, so a part of the architect, right? Are you going to do EC2s with Java on Linux? Are you going to do Lambda and serverless, right? Are you going to do API gateway into a queue, right? All of those are programming, but there's different ways. Are you going to do event processing? Are you going to do I call it static binding, where your web client calls the EC2 and they're locked? Are you going to have your web client put it on the queue and have your backend pull it off, right? So there's different architectures. And Jan, before I end this, tell me to reach out, and I'll probably do that in a minute. I actually have a Udemy thing up to this guy, and it was super cheap. It was $12. He's actually US. He's hired an architect. I forgot the word for it. I'm calling it premier. That's not it. It's the top of the level architect he just got. So he walks through all the big architectures in AWS. and it was super helpful. Once again, I went through the Loop interview. They tore my old ass up, JM, but we'll look at that real quick. And he goes over the big architectures inside AWS. And it really shout out to AWS. Illegal extraordinaire. There it is. Sorry about that. My it's kind of like my stream is locking up a bit. Let's see if I can get it to show. There it is. Hang on. Okay. We just looked at that. Once again, I'm going to go through these messages. Yep, JM, I'm going to show you that before the end of the stream. I think it'd be a good purchase. Like I said, it was super cheap. Bowls in the house. So, yeah, we're going to look at a little more. Like I said, it was just my thought because I'm out versus his stream is chopping in and out at points. Let's see. I'm going to see if my I still got it says excellent on there. So let's see if it works. The helmet. Thanks for letting me know. It was acting a little slow. I'm gonna reboot for my tomorrow one. It's getting a little better. Helmet. Let me know. So once again, let's look at it one more time. Then I'll give my 2 cents on it again. Young man right here got laid off. Just hit the highlights. I'm so hurt right now. Bank of America employee was devastated after being laid off with no warning. Said it easily disposable. He says, I see this all the time. Like most people, I just didn't see it happening to me. Right. So, and that's most people. So let's hit my man one more time.
I'm so right now. And all the time. I just got laid off and I'm unemployed. And I'm so hurt. I get it. A lot of people are being right now, but like I didn't think this would happen to me. And I actually really like this job. I've only been there for maybe like 5 months, and I actually really like this job. And actually really happy there. And now I'm unemployed. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to respond. But I'm really sad.
Let's see. Is it worth switching to fiber internet if your cables work? I would just let it keep working, Jam. Times, setting it up and depending on the carrier and depending on the wire to your house to the fiber. So I would just keep rolling with cable. Unless you get savings on it. It could be my end. I refresh. Okay. Well, he was project manager, JM. Let's see. I think it's a helmet. I'm clicking on stuff and it's taking a while to come up. He was project manager, JM. So last one was he's a little more cheerful. Like I said, I think he thought it. It's better now, sort of manageable. No, that's true. And two is, and we're going to talk about this after we listen to it, is I call it a personal disaster recovery, right? What is your personal disaster recovery, right? What's your emergency fund? Do you got a 401k you can tap? What are your skills, right? I have people out in the industry that if I was hurting, that could give me a job pretty quick, right? It's going to be making less than what I'm used to making, but I know I can get a job pretty quick, right? If I had to, right? So what do you have in your pocket? When you did your Amazon interview, did they ask you about GitHub? No, they did not. The crazy thing, JM, is I think Amazon's, because they give you a pre-HR interview, so they can look at your resume. I had a 6-hour interview, and only 45 minutes of that was technical. They're looking for corporate fit. They asking you the the dreaded question, "What are you bringing to the table, JM?" So I did that pretty well. The weird thing is they had so many people. I think they got my interview messed up. I was actually going for a compliance engineer, and I got interviewed for a system engineer, right? So they told me I could come back, but I was so scarred. I don't know if I want to do that, but we could definitely talk about that. So if you were a project manager, he can easily get help desk until he find true. But a lot of times too, JM, is a lot of people, it hurts their pride to go back like that, JM. So a lot of people struggle with doing that. Take a step back for you to go up. A lot of people is it really hurts their psyche to do that. Facts on the 6 months, which I don't have facts. What I learned from being like, oh, fired, etc. over the years is have a good. Oh yeah, it's all about the network. Shout out to Black Heights, Textual Chatter, Kev Tech. You know, and part of that really is, and I need to do a better job is getting your LinkedIn worked on, right? So let's listen to this one again, and we
So, for
kind of dig
context,
into
I
some
was an
back
IT
stuff.
project manager at Bank of America. On Friday, I was laid off with no warning, same day layoff, with not really much understanding of why I was even being laid off. It had nothing to do with performance, it had nothing to do with my TikTok, to answer that question first. So, working in this industry and being so young, you're very, very disposable. You're easily disposable because everyone else is much, much older than you, and they don't take you seriously from the beginning anyway. I had been there for about 4 months, and I had left my job 4 months ago at a company to work at Bank of America. So when it came time to do any type of layoffs, they looked at me first because, I was so young. They didn't take me seriously anyway. And so I got chopped. And I was very, very sad about it at first, as you could tell in that last video, but I feel better about it now, and I'm actually kind of happy about it. I think that this was something that's supposed to happen. It's just a part of my journey. I have more to the story, but I really, really want to say thank you all for all of the well wishes, and I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think he's kind of figuring it out. And two is, yeah, a helmet. It hurts your ego more. And that's when you gotta, once again, I was having a conversation with B2B a lot of times is um in a company's eyes, you're just really a resource, unless you work for a super small company that's more family oriented, that's gonna do stuff specifically for you. You're a resource, all right. So they're gonna rank your resource, you're going to be a full-time equivalent, and they're going to make you to make a certain amount of profit for your job status, right? So if you're a consultant and your bill rate's not going up but your salary's going up, you're eating into their profits, and sooner or later your salary is going to get to a part where you're not making the profit margin the company needs to make, right? So once again, if you got fired today, what would be your personal move, right? What would be your personal disaster recovery? Shout out to Adrian Nash. Do you have your 6 months of emergency cash fund? Do you have stocks you might could liquidate? Right? Do you have Bitcoin? The young people always say Bitcoin, right? Do you got cryptocurrency you can move, right? What would be your downside, right? So if you had to move out your house, right? Is your house underwater? You're gonna Airbnb your house, right? To cut into your profits, right? So what would be the stages of things you would need to do to survive, right? Most people don't think about that until they need to survive, right? You need to start thinking about that up front. Shout out to Adrian Nash and JT and all those the millionaire. What's your CFP, right? Have you talked to a financial planner, right? At the time, part of the financial plan is part of that is the future, right? But I do cybersecurity at a very high level. When I talk to CIOs and CISOs, we don't talk about the good things. We talk about what is the risk of we get if we get hacked, right? Do we have cybersecurity insurance? Like you have house insurance or car insurance if you wreck? Do we have cyber insurance? What will be the cover of that, right? Hit by a tornado and we couldn't take taxes, right? How will we fund the state and could we pay our employees? there was a Cronus got hit, right? So that you can pay employees out of Cronus, right? So some companies had to lay people off because they couldn't make payroll, right? So companies from a management standpoint, they talk around like, okay, if this happens, worst case, how much of the company would we need to run our base operations, right? I work for a large state, so if we had to fund the state out of all these employees, how many people do we actually need on site so we can make these statutory requirements, these legal requirements, or these requirements by HIPAA, right? So those requirements says you only need 10% of your staff. Okay, so it's something catastrophic. Are you gonna pay the 90%? Are you gonna lay them off, right? So you on the other side as the employee, how are you gonna handle that? Once again, like my man said, he got escorted out with no warning, right? So what does that look like? I think this guy didn't take himself seriously. He's young, skin up. Yeah, I think that was something. I think he took himself seriously. Helmet. I just think he got caught off guard. I don't think like you talked about. I think he needs to get some career coaching. He needs to know, and he just figured that out. Like you figured out, huh? Sometimes go the other way. It's not going to always in the future. You could be laid off to no fault of your own. I think he's being too biased in regards to the age statement. But he is JM, but he's a young guy. When I was young, I used to say the old guys are making more money. They're not smarter than me. So he's doing specifically what his age should do, JM. And you're right, but I always one of my favorite things is he's doing what I expect him to do. Right? When you're a young guy, you always blame his age. Now I'm old, Jam. I blame everything on me being old. so it all balances out, Jam. But I know what you're saying. So he's a young guy. Again, when people act the current accordingly, I don't act surprised because that's what I. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone. I kind of too. So alone, Adrian. I noticed that too. Shout out to my man though. Our part-time. I think they're to be honest. I've seen a few, but now I expect you to pay you for you work for FT or your comment. I'm starting to see them look around. What I see a lot of times, Jam, from that is it's not part-time work. Well, I take that back. It's part-time work. If you go to Fiverr, Upworks, they have projects, right? So it's kind of like part-time work, but you've been on projects to work and you just how long you need to do that project, right? I probably start doing them, but they have those projects on Upwork. So you can kind of do that, especially from a software engineering side. The only problem with software engineering side on those, JM, is you're bidding up against people around the world. What Indians charge and Africans charge to do software, I wouldn't open up my laptop. I used to do Oracle for $50 an hour. They were doing it for $15 an hour on Upworks because the dollar's so strong when you took it overseas. The other thing that helps me too is you might want to think about that, James. I'm in the federal space, so you can't outsource that work to a foreign country when you're in the federal space. So even on Upwork and Fiverr, there's a lot of guys trying to do federal software, so they have to hire their software development to be done in Konos, the United States. So I think that help you, Jam, if you want to do that Fiverr and up. I made like 20 grand like 3 years ago on Upwork, so he should be eligible for a UI, given that he wasn't fired for misconduct. You're right, Adrian S. I don't think he got past that part. I try to become mission essential. That's always it, man. You gotta be mission essential. No, facts on that, Adrian. That's I'm sure he will. He might get hired super quick. So I mean, I know freelance is a good way to break in to do some free work for your portfolio. Yeah, you can get paid on Fiverr and Upwork though. Helmet. I try not to do stuff for free, especially in my age. So maybe one or two local companies who need a website. True websites are just so easy to do with Wix and all those kind of now, Helmet. But no, you're correct. And what's the one that's getting hacked? B2B is always doing that one. I can't think of the name of it. I don't like it. Everybody uses it for content management. I'll think of it in a minute. Let me look up that one. But once again, that was from a young guy's perspective. From an old guy's perspective, like I said, I worry because theoretically you can get people cheaper when they're younger. I don't work 24 hours a day straight anymore in my old age. I used to do that when I was younger a lot, right? So there's pluses and minuses. And two, once again, what is your personal disaster recovery? Do you have 6 months emergency fund? Do you have stocks you can liquidate? Is your house paid off? How much do you need to make to keep your base living expenses taken care of? So if you're fired, like my young man here, you but you throw you off, you be prepared, right? Most people know I do federal compliance, so we have to do a tabletop exercise, right? Which means you go through and say, you have ransomware. These are the steps I need to take with our run. But professionally, if you got fired and you wouldn't get hired for 30 days, what would be your personal run book, right? If you got fired and you didn't get a job for 90 days, what will be your personal run book? Was he brand new to the? He seems young. He says young, so I'm saying, I'm thinking he's young. He said he was young. He said he was only there for 4 or 5 months in the job. Before that, he just got there. Doesn't really say how much experience he had. I'm kind of flipping. Since he was saying young, I'm saying 2 or 3 years at the most, JM. But once again, like I said, I'm on that. So once again, you personally, how would you handle that? Do you have your resources in line? And two is, you see at the top, get out of your feelings. It's a business. That's a beautiful title right there. Shout out to me. But like I said, what that is, once again, what would you do in the future? How would you move? Let's see, our playbook. Are playbooks considered best practice? Yeah, playbooks and run books are considered, especially for large companies. The federal space expects you to have them, JM, as part of your policies and procedures, business continuity, disaster recovery, breach notifications on the management side. Then on the tech side, they expect you to have standard operating procedures, user guides, technical guides, and part of that is run books. From your breach notifications from the business side, from the technical side, if you run books, if you get ransomware, what are your steps to handle ransomware? We always see people leaving their access keys and passwords hard coded in GitHub. If that happens, what's your run book? What's your playbook to delete those keys? Figure out what machines was happening. Figure out what user had those keys and what boxes did they have access. So all that will be part of your run book. What up, Wayne? Mexico checking in. I think I'm gonna come there in a vacation, man. I need to come somewhere warm in a minute. The Midwest is getting a little kind of nippy. I would have admitted the name of the bank if I was what if the TikTok goes viral. For him, I think that's part of his transparency. I think most people have who they're working on LinkedIn, JM. So, but I see what you said. Most people have that on LinkedIn. He didn't say anything really disparaging about him. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing all right for an old guy. I appreciate it. I don't think he said anything disparaging. JM, I think he was transparent. He didn't say. He just basically said I was let go and I didn't get a reason. He didn't go off like me, like F them. Let's shout out to him. He didn't say they were racist. He didn't say anything. He just said I was fired and I didn't have a reason. He wanted a reason. Then the second one, he was a little more upbeat. He talked about his journey. Shout out to Adrian Nash, my man's eyebrows on fleek. So, so, mm. Oh yeah. You would, yeah. Hopefully, most of it will be automated, Jam. If you look in AWS, I did a video talking about System Manager. And on System Manager, they call them automated documents. So I could say this person logged into these 100 boxes. I got their IP address so I can shut down those boxes, delete those access keys, rebuild those boxes, then put a new access key on there, right? All automation, because when you work for big companies, Jam, you can have 400 servers. You need to do stuff. So you would want all that automated, Jam. That's part of practicing. Somebody, is it hard? Professor making it hard for me to sleep. Yeah, Helmet, he was supposed to be going to sleep. Shout out to Helmet for hanging in there. We almost done, Helmet. We probably only got 10 minutes left, man. We wrapping it up. Old people got to go to sleep too. So real quick, once again, put whatever you want in the chat. I told JM, let's look at my Udemy real quick so we can talk a little bit about this course. If I know my password, do I know my password? I got so many passwords. Shout out to me. I gotta get my passwords better than a password. Oh, but yeah, so for me, like I said, he took it from a young guy's perspective, and as an old guy, I always think the old people are fired first, right? So, and that's it. And two, with age, as you become that, hopefully he gets his circle a little tighter. Hopefully he gets some career coaching. JM, this is for you. It's a rocking system design. This guy's a AWS. I think it's called Fellow or something. He's up there. So over here, I think I paid $15 for this. And he goes through the big architectures of systems. If you look over at systems design basics, monolith versus microservice, talks about load balancers, API, serverless, vertical versus horizontal, SQL versus no SQL, JM. So, like I said, it's kind of rocking with the system guy. I think he's a AWS fellow. I think was the term, architecture fellow. I mean, this dude's up there. His name is Raj. Yeah, he was dropping some gems in here for me. Just looking at the different Qs, pub subs. Then at the end, he talks about what's the design for Twitter, what's the design for YouTube, Netflix, and Prime Video, what's the design for WhatsApp, what's the design for Ticketmaster and Live Nations, Jam. So once again, it's rocking system design. I think I bought it for $15. If he's got it full price, just wait about a month, it'll come down. But from an architectural design, I thought this guy was super good, and I'm gonna go through and start building this stuff in AWS myself. But so hopefully I won't get fired and be looking sad like my young man there. So I got to keep my skills up, right? Because 55-year-old dudes don't get hired on the back end anymore. So that's my man right there. I might, reach out to him. Once again, he was doing, I got like 15 courses at Facts Engineering Cannabis. But yeah, JM, go check that out. Like I said, he's a AWS fellow. Once again, I did the loop. I did a 6 hours AWS interview. So I wanted to get some of the architectures down. And the crazy thing is nobody asked me any of those questions, right? So it seems like the new trend. But yeah, they've been out for 15 years though. So, but I guess in tech, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud is just hot, man. I think all together. Any one of those you pick. I think AWS, they're the leader. I think it was AWS, I thought had 40 or 45. I think Azure was right behind them with 33. Google had like 10, then the rest was spread out among Rackspace, Oracle, Salesforce. But those two had like 70% of the market, or 80%. Then the other 20 was spread out with everybody else. So once again, shout out to him. He was transparent. He was sad. Like I said, the second video, he understood it was part of his journey. And sometimes it's hard to take, but you getting fired, it's not your fault, right? The profits are down. Companies are trying to make their numbers, right? And you're just a resource that gets cut as part of that. When you're younger, you can be more resilient. I believe he'll be better than okay. I do too, Adrian Nash. He sound more upbeat. But one thing too is, and I think that's the negative about PMs is kind of that middle management. So when you start slicing, you're gonna get the lower, then you're gonna get middle management, right? Because a lot of times we don't need that much middle management, especially if we don't have a lot of projects, right? So middle management always gets cut with the lower people, right? When you start squeezing stuff. Because a lot of times those guys, especially if you got senior developers, they don't leave much management. He's afraid he won't find a job. I'm assuming project managers in demand if he was with the right skills. I know that sometimes people have titles in their job not related to their title. That's true, and he was a young guy too. So, like you said, that's one thing I brought up, JM. Does he have the PMP certifications? Did he have other certifications to help him manage? What degrees he have, to back that up? And two, I think too, and I was that way. As a young guy, I always over worried, right? So I think that's always an issue. You get over worried, and two is I don't know that man. I don't know that man's bills. I ain't trying to count his pockets. So, dude just need to apply, spend each day like 20 applications on Indeed, LinkedIn. Yeah, I think he's gonna get there engineering cannabis, and I agree with you. I just think, especially when you're young, the shock of that. Right, I got two or three. I got two headhunters on deck for me. Right, I can always send them my stuff. They're gonna do that grunt work for me. Right. Then two is LinkedIn and Indeed is so easy now to put your resumes on and just make your resumes available. Right. Usually I pick up the jobs I want to interview, but if you put your resume out there, make it public. I did that on accident, man. I got like 20 calls in a week. So it's a lot easier now than the old days to just create out there, put your stuff on LinkedIn public and Indeed public. If your skills set are out there, like everybody's saying, skill up, get your skills there, get your bag up, get your knowledge up and your insight up, right? The employers will come for you, right? But I'm old and grizzly, right? I've been in the game a little longer, so I know what that looks like. As a young man, sometimes, and two, he just left another job, so I think he was shell shocked. Like, I probably should have stayed where I was at, right? So I think that was part of it. But once again, shout out to him for the TikTok. It was a good listen, a good read, and I'm just and like Adrian said, I think he's gonna bounce back. I think he's gonna get there. It seems like he understands he understands the assignment, right, to get out there, right. So I'm sure he's gonna make that happen. So I saw it, and for some reason, it just kind of touched me. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go live and talk a little bit about that and kind of figure out what's going on. Coding my coding bootcamp told me I should be putting out 2,000 out there looking for a job as an engineer. That seems obsessive, JM. I I don't know, JM. I ain't gonna lie. I don't interview like that. I don't like we said. I worked on my network where I'm a pinpoint a couple companies. I'm gonna hit my network. So when I usually apply for a job, I know there's openings, and I know somebody's gonna uh hand carry my resume or tell them to go look at me and help me get in the back door. So, I mean, hell, how many? Well, I guess with remote work, you can do 2,000 resumes. And as an engineer, there's a ton about that. But for me, JM, I would reach out to Citizen Lou's actually a system engineer, a coding. He actually codes for a company remotely. He's actually in Mexico and he's working for a company in San Diego. B2B's programming engineer slash um, uh, data warehouse, data lakes engineer. I reach out to them. Struggle Security, Gabe A. He's a director. So if you're cool with him, so there's a lot of people, Black Heights. If you can get one of his Patreons, they be hand carrying stuff to certain employers. So 2000 just doesn't seem it could be right. I'm not I I just wouldn't operate like that. They say they connect with 100 people a day on LinkedIn. But to me that's cool. That's more of a shotgun, man. I'm trying to sniper it down, JM. I would reach out to 4 or 5 guys. You've been in the manosphere in the tech space. There's a lot of guys out there. I would hit up Kev Tech. Kev Tech has 5,000 people in his LinkedIn. I would have Kev Tech push it out for me because Kev Tech will be my reference in his LinkedIn because Kev Tech does that LinkedIn. Kev Tech does that LinkedIn very well. I don't know your pockets. I'll reach out to Textual Chatter and Black Heights. Both of them have very active Patreons and groups, once again, that have connections to let you get into the back office and have people recommend you. I'm trying to think else is in that space. Like I said, B2B's over there. He's got Max to Million. He had like 3 or 4 coders kind of in his small crew, JM. I would reach out to them. Um, it seemed like your coding boot camp would have references in it that they could hit you up to so you wouldn't have to send out 1,000. What was that? What was that number? That was a two. That's I'm JM. I gotta wrap my hands around it. Grizzly Chucky. So yeah, he probably was making high 6 figures. That money was snatched up. He was mad. He should look at project management, AI, banks like JP Morgan paying 2K remote. No, that is true. That is true. Like I said, he was in the big Bank of America, so hopefully he has domain knowledge in the bank so he can go work with any of the other big banks and even the financial houses and the brokerage houses, right? They're all kind of in that Fed, PM, tech world. They all got sites and extra products they're trying to develop and get those projects done. They're all moving to Bitcoin and blockchain to try to get auditing and get the best out of blockchain. So I'm sure their financial companies, banks, brokerage houses, fintech is hot in that area. So like engineering cannabis, they said that will get in. They said connect. Yeah, that's more shotgun, JM. I think that's the move. You ain't got hired in 3 months. I think should be a little more once again sniperish. Get a little more pinpoint because I've been in this game long enough where 50% of the jobs you see, they already got somebody hired. A lot of jobs make you post your job, for no discrimination. And I've seen, especially if you're talking in the Fed space and in the state space, they have to post those jobs. So I'm using the Vet Tech program from VA, so the coding bootcamp didn't get paid. I'm using the Vet Tech program from VA, so the coding bootcamp don't get paid by the VA to the county. Oh, that's cool. So yeah, so that was it. But too, with that, the Vet Tech and the VA, I would reach out definitely to Kev Tech is ex-military, Tech G is ex-military. They got certain programs to help you find a job in JM. And I work in military bases, and ex-military gets first dibs on jobs. So if we got the same qualifications and the same points when they will hire you, they're going to take the military guy above the civilian guy. So I will look at the reach out to Kev Tech, Tech G. Who's else? I know those two are definitely military because they're always posting free training. But I think part of that is some of those programs help you find a job. And I would apply to DOD and all those federal spaces. And you should, once again, if you're ex-military, you should get first dibs on that. PNC and Bank of America bearing big money for project managers for fraud detection, model design. Facts, facts. I was walking through that yesterday when we were talking about stealing Snap and and EBT cards, right? Because part of that they were stealing was fraud. One lady bought a ton of baby formula and was selling it. So, engineering cannabis, trying to get that fraud detection. And two is you want to get some kind of domain knowledge to separate you. Like, even though you're a project manager, do you specialize in fraud? Do you specialize in REITs and real estate? What's your specialty, right? I do cybersecurity, but my specialty is I've actually do NIST 800-53 IRS Pub 1075, which is federal compliance. How do you do a federal compliance? Get your system slash ATO authority to operate, right? How do you do all those vulnerabilities? Shout out to the STIGs, CIS checks, NSA checks. How do you lock down a system to get it federally approved, right? That's my domain specialty. So if I get laid off, hopefully I can get another job because I specialize in something, right? So he's a project management, but you could drill down deeper, like engineering cannabis said, fraud detection, um, cybersecurity, federal compliance, HIPAA. There's so many different, projects, even from an IT perspective. Like I meet a lot of IT project managers and security projects, but they don't know the deliverables. Right? I tell them what the deliverables are, then they tell me to hurry up. Right. So uh, that's why I'm not very happy with project management. But once again, I'm wrapping it up. Shout out to Helmet. I'm going to go to bed too. Like I said, I just thought it was something to touch on. What is your personal disaster recovery? If something happens, what are your plans to make sure you're not in distress? Or you see a lot of people selling their house, packing their stuff up in storage units. Um, what do you have plans? And two is, what is your break the glass? I'm laid off. I'm selling this off. I'm cashing this out. I'm gonna go stay with my son. I always joke with him. I'm gonna stay with my son in his basement. Right. So what would be your worst case scenario? Right. A lot of people get worst case scenario and they end up in shelters and homeless or sleeping on their brother's couch. Right. Which is nothing wrong with that, but hopefully you wouldn't need to get to that point in your life. Right. So once again, it's Professor Black Ops. I'm gonna hang out a little bit longer. Any questions? But just I put up for design, especially if you want to be a system architect. Want to be cloud engineer, DevOps, skill up, security, data analytics, machine learning. Lots of jobs remote from Nike, Chick-fil-A, Walmart, mini pays 150 to 250. Sipping umbrella drinks on the beach. Let's go and get it. Shout out to Engineering Cannabis, dropping gems as always. Have at least a year's worth of expensive if you become a. That's the goal sometimes, but a lot of times a lot of people can't get to that, JM. You wrote that kind of easy, man. Sometimes it takes a minute, but you're right. Let's start off with the 6 months, then get to the year, right? So, or at least have it in the stock. But a lot of times too, though, when there's a recession or something, your stocks are down. So you don't want to sell them at the bottom, right? So, but no, that's it too. You need to figure out what you need to save or where you need to put it, or where's your resources at that you can get to them. So when you need them, you can get them, right? So that's really the number one thing there. Oh man. I hope everybody have a great weekend. I'm labbing. What did I do today? I did a database to simple uh to a queue. I pulled the queue off for Lambda with a simple notification storage and wrote it into a log, right? So that's a few things. I did a peer-to-peer network in AWS from 2 different regions. so they can talk to each other on the AWS backbone so I can be NIST 853 compliant, right? So we got a lab every day. Shout out to lab every day. But once again, I think I'm done for today. Definitely come and check me out Sunday at 3. We're going to talk about AWS CloudFront. Also, I'm going on Dr. Dunbar's channel. We're going to talk about technology. He just said open. I don't know if he means open source, just talking technology in general. I think we're going to be there at 11 on Sunday. And then I'm going to jump on my own channel 3 on Sunday. So check me out on Sunday on Dr. Dunbar's channel. I like to support the PhDs, in the space. Shout out to them, giving out great knowledge, great skills. So once again, if you need to reach out to me, Professor Black Ops at gmail.com. Give me 48 hours. Sometimes I'm a little slow. Let's see. I'm like you learning Transformers on Python and reading stats. Yeah, me and engineering trying to get it in, man. I'm a little older than him, so I'll be trying to get these new skills, man, for the new millennium, man. And two, so I won't be sad like my young homie right here, man. I'm 55. I might not be able to make a comeback if I get laid off, man. So once again, I'm out. Everybody have a great weekend. I'm going to see you in these cyber streets. Everybody have a great day.